Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for Avengers issue 27. And I really liked how this set up this next arc going on with the Star Brand for the Avengers. Because we get a little bit of a look inside the Shi'ar Empire, we get a little bit of a look into how they try and build up the team for this mission, and then of course we get the setup of how badly this mission goes. And I like that it's a weird kind of prison horror-esque kind of story that kind of takes shape as it progresses. Because we start off and we see that the Gladiator has come because of like a distress call and everything, that there was some kind of explosive event that occurred within this like prison galaxy that the Shi'ar Empire has. Gladiator's like, hey, tell me what's going on. Well, they saw the event. They thought maybe one of the prisoners had decided to try and blow up one of the suns that they had. It's like, Jesus, just trying to think on this scale of like a prison galaxy is just crazy, especially when they start listing off the statistics later in the issue. But we see that only two survived from the dreadnought that was initially sent there to the ground zero to explore and figure out what's going on, and they were star burned and everything, and the Gladiator could tell that their organs were pretty much decomposing and they were dying anyway. So he laser eye beamed them and said to give the condolences to the family and everything. And that evidently there was a stowaway and it was a brood. Now, granted, I'm not that much versed with the brood, but these people, these people are really just like kind of crazy looking, and they do not take well with others. And talking about how he was going to murder and everything like that, and he ripped off like at least three people's faces by the time were able to get him subdued. But he's talking about something getting ready to burn and Starbrand and stuff like that, and Gladiator's like, you know what? I'm going to adjust your sentence to death, and spits at him and kills him. That sets a tone with this dude not to be fucked with. And he, of course, goes and says, I'm going to go figure this out. I'm going to let you know who to call if I don't come back. Now, this issue makes that like 6 days ago. We do 5 days ago, and we get Blade and Robbie Reyes talking about how they were in contact and they need to go and figure out what happened to Gladiator and all that. And Robbie, of course, is excited because he's like, listen, it takes a lot to become an astronaut. Blade, since he was born in the 1920s, hasn't really kept up with that stuff, and he's like, listen, space is a bad thing. I'd rather go to hell. And it's like, that's interesting. I can understand Blade's take on that. It's like, cosmic stuff, that's kind of, I like to deal with in my own wheelhouse kind of shit. And Robbie being like, yeah, and then Captain America comes in and says, hey, get your shit ready. We go to space in like 10 minutes. And Robbie's face is both like excited and like, oh God, what am I getting into? As he's sitting in the car being like, yeah, I'm pumped for this kind of stuff. We see everybody else kind of pretty much getting ready as well. We see that Cap has decided to bring Black Widow in on this. And I like how we actually get a dialogue between them as to why Cap would pick her, which she's like, hey, why didn't you bring up like Quasar or whatnot? And Cap's like, we don't know what kind of situation we're going into. We could be dealing with Galactus, we could be dealing with Skrulls with shivs. I kind of want you with your wheelhouse to be able to deal with anything. I'm like, that actually makes a lot of sense. Because Black Widow can deal with a lot of different kind of scenarios going on, whereas Quasar might be dealt with more of the cosmic kind of variety, but not might be that used to dealing with kind of rogue inmates like what they're probably thinking about. Not saying that Quasar couldn't handle that, but Nat's able to kind of adjust her range very versatilely throughout a spectrum of enemies. So it's like, yeah, okay. And he's like, it'll give you a break from what you've kind of been doing since you've been in the shadows. We also see that, like, boy thing pops up and has a little flower and everything. I thought that was a cute little moment as they're still kind of talking about what's going on. Mainly like, hey, any word from Stark? Nobody's got that. We see that T'Challa is pretty much going on with that, and everybody else is kind of going into space. Thor, of course, getting his usual mead and all that, and says that he's got vodka stock for Black Widow. I'm like, hey, that's kind of cool. And we see that Carol has a kind of one-sided conversation with She-Hulk and showing her new costume. And at first I'm like, okay, let's kind of take this in. And actually, I kind of like the design. Now, granted, when they're talking about like gamma radiation, like because it was talked about that like her and T'Challa uh, brought it up and kind of made it to help deal with her gamma radiation. I'm like, yeah, that kind of works. I really like how different kind of styled it is, and sometimes costume changes just pop up, and I'm like, that works. And her kind of talking about like, okay, yeah, she's really needed because of like the radiation kind of stuff that they're gonna have to be looking into, and okay, Starbrand's back into play. Last one kind of went crazy and blew up. Is this dealing with like the final host kind of stuff that I had, and what that kind of means with her? So they get everybody kind of set off. They blast off, and we see now that they're in the prison galaxy with like 8 quadrillion prisoners and all this stuff. And a really funny kind of thing that we got was that we see Captain America doing a captain's log, and I'm like, yeah, that was cool. I kind of like that Star Trek thing. And he starts running down how everybody kind of got separated. Things have gone to crap. Their original craft is like caught in this like scavengers kind of web. Carol went off to go find a ship. They don't know where some of the other people are, and Thor is in a bad way. And as long as he's talking to his hammer, we're good. And we see that Thor has been turned into a brood. And this is an interesting development because it's like, oh god, one of your powerhouses being turned into a brood is not a great thing. But they also go with his Uru arm has been changed as well. I'm like, okay, how would that work out? And I really like that detail in the artwork. That's a really cool thing to do for the transformation process. But we see he's like, if I'm holding this hammer, I'm still Thor. I'm not Brood. I don't want to kill. And it's like, you really feel bad for Thor going through that. It's like, oh god. And we see that She-Hulk is busy kind of fending off through the rest of them, and that they're losing oxygen, power levels, everything. And She-Hulk's like, well, it doesn't matter who's tomorrow because we don't have enough pretty much going on anyway to survive past that. And then we see that Carol pops up, and she actually found a Starjammer ship. I'm like, nice. And that she had gotten so close to a white hole that it activated her old binary. And Cap's like, alright, cool. Now we just gotta find the other people and everything will be kind of good. And then he hears the thunk, and we see that Thor has dropped his hammer and is gone brood mode and starts to attack Cap. It's like, that is not good. So we get towards the end of the issue, and we see that Widow, Blade, and Robbie are the ones together, and that he is pretty much Ghost Ridered up. He's trying to get to Cap and be like, hey, we kind of need help. And we see that an interesting development has occurred in that Blade can be harmed by red suns. Even though he's a daywalker on Earth, a red sun harms him and pretty much kills him. I'm like, interesting. I kind of like that development. That's an interesting kind of thing to go on. But Robbie's trying to get in contact with him because they're getting chased by the Silver Surfer. I'm like, oh, that's interesting why the Silver Surfer would be chasing him and what's going on with that as we see star-branded planets floating by and we're like, oh god. So I like how we're getting closer to the part where we saw the strange-looking group of Avengers in that one issue that kind of teased this event. The Starjammer's ship really makes more sense of why Cap would be dressed like he was in that, because it would be old Starjammer's gear. Why Carol was in her binary form. Why Thor was a brood now, even though we'll probably get more information on how that occurred, hopefully. The Avengers are on a back foot here, and I am really intrigued to see how they get out of this and what we learn about the Star Brand and what happened to Gladiator and what would even be able to fuck with Gladiator enough to have him need help like this. So this is a very intriguing setup, and I can't wait to see where the story goes and how these events kind of shake out. So those are my opinions on the issue. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.